Assalamualaikum Prof. My name is Muhammad Shah bin Abdullah, and today I will discuss about the case of law and cybersecurity, Nik Adib bin Nikmat versus the public prosecutor. So I move on to the introduction. The session court charged the accused with violating subsection 233 bracket 1 bracket A of the Communication Multimedia Act 1998, which is punishable under subsection 233 bracket 3 of the same act by posting offensive and false image and comment about specific leader, about our leader, on the website. Nik Adi also faces second charge, which is possession of pornography film and view of photograph contrary to section 5 bracket 1 and bracket A of the Film Censorship Act 2002, concern regarding the proper balance between personal circumstance and the wider ramification of cyber-related offences raised by the appellant, alleged misuse of social media and possession of inappropriate items. Fact of the case, the appellant was sentenced to 1 year in jail for the first charge after the session court found him guilty on both counts. 1 year in prison must be spent consecutively and is the second charge. The conviction and sentence were appealed by the applicant. The High Court changed the sentence but denied the appeal on conviction. First charge is Rm 30,000 ringgit in fines and 1 week in jail, 3 months in default, and second charge is Rm 10,000 ringgit fine with a default penalty of 1.5 years in jail. In order to balance the public interest with the appellant unique circumstance, the High Court modified the sentence. So the issue of the case is whether the Session Court sentence was suitable in light of the seriousness of the offence, the public interest, and the appellant particular situation. Whether the sentencing should be changed by the appellate court because it was clearly disproportionate or did not follow sentencing guidelines and trends for the first time offenders. The next one is judgment of the case. For each charge, the appellant received a 1 year prison sentence from the session court, with the second sentence starting after at first. After the appellant filed the appeal, the High Court partially granted the appeal, rejecting the conviction appeal, but lowering the punishment. So when the High Court hear the appellant appeal, they lower the punishment for Nik Adib, but did not remove the what the session court has charged him. So the Court of Appeal looked at the appellant personal circumstance and the public interest. Cybercrime such as this one was seen as grave, particularly when the public may readily access the content. The appellant personal circumstance such as his regret, his obligation to the family, and the fact that he was a first-time offender were considered. Although a reduced sentence in comparison to the initial ruling was judged reasonable to reconcile justice and rehabilitation, the court acknowledged that a jail sentence was required. So the court they analyze what the appellant background. This is the first time offender, and then he has an obligation to his family. So the court they didn't remove the charge, but they lower the punishment, and they still the jail sentence still needed in order to make him realize what he was doing is a wrong thing. The next one is analyze and critique the Communication and Multimedia Act, emphasize that the public interest in controlling harmful digital activity and aim to prevent misuse of network service. The court emphasized how easily damaging content may proliferate on the internet. The goal of the Film Censorship Act is to restrict pornographic content that could undermine public moral. The charge was supported by the discovery throughout the inquiry that 883 pornographic movies were in possession. Because the appellant was a teacher, a position of moral influence, the session court placed a maximum sentence or imprisonment on both offences, highlighting the public interest and the necessity of deterrent. The appellant regret lack of criminal record and status as the only provider were among mitigating consideration that the High Court took into account, along with the sentence proportionality. Due to this factor, the sentence were lower, balancing the interests of the public and the individual. The next one is deterrence and rehabilitation were balanced by the High Court. It acknowledged that excessively severe punishment, particularly for first-time offender, could injure people and defeat the sentencing rehabilitative objective, given the seriousness of the conduct and the possible harm that could result from spreading objectionable content. The public interest is still a crucial factor. The High Court cite earlier ruling in which comparable violation were usually punished with fines. The Session Court first sentencing were changed because they were thought to be too harsh for a first-time offender. It appeared unreasonable that the Session Court decided to apply maximum incarceration penalty without giving sufficient uh, thought to mitigating circumstance. It did allow accepted sentencing guideline for case like this. The appellant lack of past criminal background, familial duties, and remorse were duly acknowledged by the High Court. For the first time, non-violent criminal, however, fines alone might have been more successful in accomplishing the goal of sentencing, even while incarceration act as a deterrent. The reasoning of High Court demonstrate a sophisticated comprehension of striking a balance between rehabilitation and deterrence, but it might have looked into other options, including community service or probation, which would have placed more of an emphasis on rehabilitation than incarceration. It's possible that the first harsh penalty was meant to convey public disapproval of such conduct, given the delicate circumstance of the case, including national official and pornographic material. However, even if the decreased penalty is legally legitimate, it can give the impression that crime involved cyberspace and obscenity are being handled more leniently. So impact to the society, the spread of inflammatory and pornographic content online, especially that direct at the leaders and containing pornographic or manipulated content, underscore the escalating problem of cyber abuse in society. The significance of encouraging ethical internet activity is highlighted by this case. It acts as a warning about the legal repercussion of publishing inflammatory or misleading content online. The judiciary stressed that individual circumstance and the general interest must be balanced. This illustrates how crucial it is to uphold social norm while allowing for rehabilitation. The original several sentences were intended to discourage similar crimes, but it was changed to emphasize justice by taking into consideration the accused's personal and familial circumstance. The case emphasized the moral obligation of educators who serve as a social role model because the accused was a teacher. The violation of this principle highlight the necessity of those in position of power to uphold higher moral and professional standards. So the conclusion on this case study, the appellant contribution lack of past criminal history, personal circumstance, being a loan provider with dependent, and the lack of violence or profit in committing the charge were among the reasons the court took into consideration. The possibility for rehabilitation and the public interest were balanced in the amended sentence. Online behavior might have a legal repercussion. Serious consequences may follow the dissemination of offensive or misleading content. In order to ensure justice and possibilities for rehabilitation, court take into account individual circumstance while prioritizing the public good. Teacher and other powerful people are expected to set a good example and respect social norm. The case justifies a rigorous legal investigation by highlighting the gravity of cyber-related acts and their potential for extensive harm. This is my reference, and that's all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.